Welcome to INTERGEO TV streaming live the international press conference from Hamburg at INTERGEO 2016. Before we start, I want to give some information for our German viewers and users, and that's how it sounds for the English audience. Herzlich willkommen hier bei der Pressekonferenz.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the press conference at the INTERGEO press conference at the INTERGEO 2016. I'm the director of INTERGEO TV, the press conference being streamed live. And you know that the program is being broadcast in English as well as in German. And after the broadcast, you will get your special German edition. So this is something you can look forward to, but I will continue in English. Wir sind jetzt fast fertig. Wir haben Gäste hier in Hamburg auf der Messe und die möchte ich gerne vorstellen. Herr Hinte, Christoph Hinte,
is responsible for organizing the trade fair here for many, many years. Welcome. He's joined by Professor Hans-Jörg Kuttra, the new president of DVW here, who is holding the conference as well. It's your first participation at the press conference. Welcome and congratulations to your presidency. Thomas Eichhorn is here. He is here.
Thomas Eichhorn von LGV Hamburg.
So this is the place where the trade fair and the conference are taking place.
Die LGV
We are saying hello to Gunther Wölfle, building Smart EW. We're going to see what you're going to tell us later. And welcome International Ron Bizio from Trimble Navigation. We're going to join you today later in a special discussion, but welcome here at the press conference, as well as Josh Walden from Intel Corporation, new player in the game here. Very welcome. And last not least, someone we know very well, it's Dr. Jürgen Dold von Hexagon Geosystems, and the conference is hosted by Hagen Gräf. Please.
Thank you, my dear.
Herzlichen Dank.
Ja, meine Damen und Herren,
ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I will do the largest part of the moderation in German, but I may ask questions in English when I talk to our English guests. It is a bit difficult because the place is quite crammed here, but I believe we will manage. If you look around at the INTERGEO, the exhibition, and here the Congress Center, you will notice that we're dealing with many topical subjects that are important to Germany, such as a smart city. Everybody's talking about smart city. BIM, the federal minister just signed a contract with one company, and there are many new technologies that are important to geodesy, and the many expert papers, and also their drones. And my first question pertains to this. From your point of view, gentlemen, there are no ladies on the panel, unfortunately. Gentlemen, is there a common link between these topics? Something that joins them? Anything that might have an impact on our geo community, and something that may be changed in the future? Is there anything that all the topics have in common? Let me start on the left-hand side with Mr. Dold. Well, I believe that the trends we are seeing, smart cities, smart harbors, or smart ports, as it is called here in Hamburg, these are trends that we also know from other industries. Digitization takes place here on an everyday basis, and we are used to using apps and being informed about pieces of art, for instance. You can look up things, and this will also play an ever more important role in our business life. And we want to professionalize our geodata in such a way that they can be applied in smart cities and smart ports, so that the data can be put to the best possible use. And we call this big data. I already said this on Monday. It doesn't matter how big these data are, but how smart you use them. And in the geo industry, it's up to the geo industry to really implement the usage of smart data in a way that these data can be used on an everyday basis in our professional life in an efficient way. Well, how about the others? Josh?
How is Intel
Wie sieht Intel
topics, and are there any important development in that direction of BIM, Smart City, and UFOs? What are you saying?
Thank you. Absolutely, they are connected. If you look, I agree with Dr. Dold here, is that both smart cities or things in general, I mean, by 2020, there's supposed to be over 50 billion connected devices. So all those devices are generating data and communicating up to the cloud. Data in itself really isn't interesting as a consumer. What it is that information that's generated, and here at Intel, of course, right, we both have connectivity, communications, as well as the cloud infrastructure through the servers, and then beaming that back to either the end user, the thing, or the smart city, BIM, et cetera. So I absolutely see the geodata as well as all of things connected.
Thank you. Yes, Ron, what's the opinion of Trimble to these fields?
Yeah, so I think, pardon me for those that were in my keynote on Tuesday, but I think one of the things that we talked about there is if you take a look at smart cities, and you break that down to the elements of the city, one of the things that we as surveyors and geospatial professionals want to do is we want to participate in making the water system smarter. We want to participate in making the energy systems, the road and railway transportation. If we can deliver safe, clean water, take care of sanitation, help reduce energy, as well as getting people to and from work in the city, we've effectively made the city smarter. We as geospatial professionals have a key role in this because before you can actually improve on things, you've got to know where things are, what their conditions are, and how we can monitor the improvements that have been made in those elements that make up the smarter city.
Thank you. Herr Wölfle, Sie vertreten einen.
You are representative of a large association. Not all the questions such as GNSS and are directly connected with building smart, but BIM, and smart cities. I suppose that you've got an opinion on this, and your association has an opinion on this. And maybe you might want to explain this and tell us a little about your association in the first place. Well, I would have started with this anyway. To avoid any misunderstandings, building smart is connected to civil engineering. Building smart is an international development. We've turned 20 recently, so we will celebrate our 20th anniversary next week. And for 20 years we have been dealing with building BIM. We wanted to improve data management, the flow of information in the construction industry, in order to improve urban planning, transport planning. And it starts at a very low level. It all starts with, for instance, installing a radiator in a house. And for this, we need appropriate software interfaces, and we provide these interfaces. Open BIM is one of our most important topics, and this will only work as all the stakeholders, all the software products communicate with each other, are networked, and can exchange data. So, building smart. This happens at a large scale. It pertains to entire cities, but it also pertains to individual buildings. This is a smaller scale, so it's all involved. And many of our members are here. They are exhibitors here at the trade fair. We're very happy about this. And digitization, big data. Building information modeling is very closely linked to big data. More and more data are coming up, and we need to make sense of these data, turn them into meaningful business cases, business models. And these are up and coming. So we all know what smart cities can do for us in the future and how this can contribute to improving facility management, for instance. And we know what's that to do with safety and security of buildings. evacuation, firefighting. All of this is based on more and more data. And for us, this means that we see ourselves as a community. We are an association for people working in this industry. And for them, we want to reassure them and help them overcome obstacles, because for many, many small companies, this is still new terrain, which they are not yet used to. But Building Smart is there to help the users. Thank you very much, Mr. Wölfle. So smart, this is a term that has been used very often. Smart cities. Smart cities, this is a catchword, this is a buzzword here at the trade fair, at the conference. This is very important. And Dr. Eichhorn, he can say something for the digital city of Hamburg. Thomas, if you please. What is the approach of the free and hanseatic city of Hamburg in terms of digitization? Building, transport, and are there any other topics that play a role here? Well, the Free and Hanseatic City of Hamburg intentionally used a different term. We don't call it smart city, but digitized city. And we did this intentionally. And I would like to explain the approach to you in a bit more detail. As a city, we believe that the process of digitization is multifaceted, and all these facets need to be dealt with. And the Senate has taken several decisions in this respect, so we don't just want to focus on urban tasks, but the concept of the digitized city also needs to be seen in a civic context, because this includes infrastructure, hospitals, communities, the civic society. And of course, administration needs to contribute to this as well. And our administration here in Hamburg is very committed to this. They are very committed to digitalizing their processes. And digitization, big data, this was mentioned at the beginning. This is all well and good, and we are still at the very beginning, particularly in the geo area, what with all the sensor data that are imaginable in smart city. Once we've installed all this, then we have arrived in the area of big data. And this is a big challenge for us as a city, together with the civil society, with the population. We do not just need digitalized data, but also intelligent data. Only then will a city become smart. So thinking of digitized PDF documents, there's a high level of digitization, but these documents are not smart. They are standard. Data are modeled in a certain way, but there is more to smart than just that. We don't want to just provide data, we want to provide knowledge, we want to provide solutions, answers to processes, to questions and challenges. And as a city, we need to implement a transition. We need to change our processes, also the decision-making process. We need to change our culture. We do not just want to have an official database, an administrative database. We need to find a way to establish an urban database that can be used in all kinds of areas. This is necessary if we want to further develop our city, because the urban challenges are tremendous. And these challenges are growing as much as cities are growing, and we can only deal with this if we have a digitalization process that is cooperated with smart data, and it is our big goal to do this together with others, with the entire society. And we do hope that we will be successful, and this is the right place to exchange experience, to network, and this is a big benefit for the topic of smart cities. And we are in contact with other European cities. We are involved in European projects, and I believe that with these different facets of the digitalization strategy, we'll be able to see to it that Hamburg will remain an attractive metropolis and to further develop this metropolis, also in the context of smart city and take up a pioneering role.
Thank you. That sounds like the future of the future, really.
Auf der INTERGEO genau richtig, denn wir sind erst in der Future und das andere kommt dann in 20
The future of the future, and the rest is gonna follow in 10 or 20 years. My colleagues keep saying, well, you shouldn't be mistaken, the future is just around the corner, faster than you think. Well, now, next question. The organizing association, how do you see this event and the topics that we chose, and what importance do you attach to them? Well, actually, from the part of DVB, I think I can certainly say that the INTERGEO in Hamburg has a very special attraction, because we have succeeded in reuniting digitization, smart technology, smart data, smart cities. We have been able to combine that with one location, and the preceding speaker already emphasized this. Hamburg has made decisions in this way. Hamburg is already on the way to this future, into the future we just mentioned. And when looking at the program of INTERGEO, also in connection with the exhibitors present, we can clearly say that these are topics that are attractive to the suppliers, but when looking at the audience here, it's also very appealing indeed for the visitors. I think this is an excellent starting point for our future steps. But first of all, INTERGEO is the platform for the geospatial community. It is for our profession. It is ideal in order to deal with these topics, to have an exchange, to have lively debates, and to go one step further. So this certainly is a guideline and a yardstick for what is going to follow in the next years. We can clearly see the important role of interdisciplinarity in this area. It is very important to bring different industries together. It's the only way of combining smart topics in order to have a smart future. Thank you very much. Well, and the organizer may now say, how does INTERGEO link up all these two topics? Well, I think here in Hamburg, two aspects become very clear indeed. One aspect, well, when looking back into 2003, and I have to agree with Dr. Deut here, in 2003 here, there were no smartphones at all, there were no apps, and well, only 13 years have elapsed, and today these things are omnipresent, and this includes this event, of course, and the period of time doesn't seem that long, but this event really wants to use the prefix of inter in a way that interdisciplinarity, interoperability, and internationality have a predominant role here. And these are the aspects that should be emphasized, and I would like to give you some figures in this respect. Well, we carried out a survey, and we got results yesterday which showed that more than 55% of visitors are from an international context. This was on the first day. This usually decreases over time, so international guests usually come during the first days of an event. But the emphasis of an international aspect is especially present here in Hamburg, and the second aspect is that INTERGEO is unique in terms of its concept and also in terms of of its strategy. The changing locations and the trade fair and the conference are inextricably interlinked. This panel shows this here very clearly, and this is how you can advance an industry. Well, INTERGEO is now increasingly assuming a role of a cross-industry platform for dialogue, and then smart cities or other topics really are growing from a grassroots approach. So they are slowly growing, and it is a very calculable situation for everyone. So concerning these figures, we can certainly say that we have a very positive results here in Hamburg. We have 531 companies from 37 countries. We are approaching Berlin really here. We hope to have about 17,000 visitors, and the exhibition space has been fully booked, and it is not a short-term hectic idea, but it is an idea that is building up gradually, slowly but gradually, and I think this gives planning security for everyone involved. Thank you very much. This leads me to another round of questions. Well, for our colleagues from industry and from the associations, Dr. Deutsch, live mapping. So your real-time maps, that's a new buzzword, isn't it? It's a buzzword that has not yet been filled with a lot of life. Well, where do you see the customers for live mapping? Is that for private individuals? Is that for commercial purposes? What's your idea? Oh, well, I do think so, because who wants to see old or obsolete data and obsolete reality? So we should strive to have live data. It could be drones, for example, that are permanently across a camera, or it could be surveillance camera positioned somewhere in a city. It's all thinkable, but the industry still has a long way to go on its way to transformation from the very beginnings of measurement, where you had 3 coordinates, X, Y, Z, and today it's more mobile, it's getting simplified, and this is how all software solutions are created, so that the process from raw data is now stretching towards original data. But Mr. Walden, this is not enough. Nobody is interested in data, but in information, you said. So this data has to be transformed into information. And we can nowadays see that countries within 3 years are updated in a map, and this will go down to a year in the Western world. In China, it may be every 3 months, because there is a different dynamism there. And at some point, it'll be real time. It's a journey, and we have to be prepared as an industry, and we need to take customers along. So from 2D, we use that a lot, also in the construction industry, the transformation into the 3D world, and getting information out of data. So it's a very exciting era ahead of us. Thank you very much. Well, I've got yet another question for Mr. Walden. Josh.
In one of our newspapers last week, there was a short article where they mentioned that Intel was strategic working with ascending technologies, and they wrote down, Intel believes that drones are the platform for computers in the future. How can I understand that? Your drone Falcon 8 Plus is the platform for the computer in the future.
Well, I think similar to what we talked about earlier in the previous question is first, yes, the ascending technologies. By acquiring ascending technologies, we feel that from a commercial drone perspective, we acquired one of the best-in-class drones available, particularly for the commercial segment. Now, why is it that we did that? First, people typically think of Intel as a chip company, and we're well beyond just chips. We have everything from, I have a wrist-worn Intel device that I'm wearing, all the way up through the data center. And again, if you look at drones, and particularly from a geo-mapping perspective, they generate well over, in some cases, 50 gigabytes worth of data with each job that's performed. And so that data, once again, needs to be, through connectivity, fed up to the cloud, where information that's valuable to the customer or consumer is created that then real time, as we were talking about, inclusive of smart cities, can feed back. So we view drones as more than just a flying computer. Actually, drones as one of the things, or those 50 billion connected devices. And Intel, we have an Internet of Things group, we have a wearables group, and so we look at what are those different areas that'll continue to feed the data center, and being a compute company, we could then analyze those workloads and essentially speed them up or accelerate them, either through our technology or by improving our hardware in the future. So we see that drones fits directly into Intel's overall corporate strategy of continuing what we call the virtuous cycle of growth.
Thank you. Ja, ich habe natürlich auch noch eine Frage an.
Well, of course, I also have a question for Ron. Ron,
BIM is a technique. BIM is a model. BIM is perhaps a project for the future. But BIM becomes a little bit more faster these days. In Germany, we are just at the beginning. In Great Britain, as we yesterday heard, they are 2 or 3 or 4 years in the future of us. What do you think will be the task of the geospatial industry for this field to develop BIM more and more?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of organizations offering BIM capabilities, but I think one of the things we're going to do is how do we get this building into a model that can be used to improve the efficiency of the building, the safety of the building, if you think about from a public safety standpoint, evacuations, things like that. But before you can actually begin with all of your work on the modeling and the analysis and the improvement of the building, we've really got to capture the information about the building, and that includes, scanning of the building and actually figuring out what's behind the walls, bringing that all into a model that can then be used to improve the building.
Thank you. Herr Wölfler, Smart, ich habe es vorhin erwähnt, haben wir ein kleines bisschen Aktivität.
Well, in Smart, we have seen a bit BIM activity by Mr. Dobrindt, our Minister for Transport in Germany. What task can building Smart have in promoting BIM? I'm also talking about influencing the political community and the relevant associations. I can explain you the reason for my question. I'm not a person who likes to annoy others, but it really was impressive to hear that the British government is creating a program, and it's funding this program until 2020. Let me repeat that. They're funding the program until 2020, and large construction programs are only BIM-based. Is that a task? Well, at least we would define it as follows. Our concept, of course, is that we are a think tank. We provide consulting and advice to the political community. We want to initiate new developments and initiatives, not only us, but there are many associations that are bigger and that can look back on a longer tradition than we do. We have also got a new society. In Germany, it's called Planbau 4.0. It's our sister company, but in Germany, mechanisms are different than in neighboring states, states that are often quoted as role models like Scandinavia, UK, and in the meantime, France has become more and more active. The state is participating. Unfortunately, this is not the case in Germany because the political community, I think, is reluctant to interfere with the market. They do not want to get the reputation that they are only supporting large-scale projects. For that reason, developments in Germany are different. It is associations like the chambers of architects and structural engineers that have decided, among others, that they can no longer wait for decisions taken by the political community. So Plan Bau 4.0 was established in like 2 years ago, and they're a key player for initiatives in Germany. They're taken seriously, I think, and they're recognized abroad. And it is such industry-born initiatives that, again, do not exist in other countries because the state is more active there. But in the long run, I think we should take stock. I think it's too early today, but I think our strategy in Germany is born by the industry associations, and it could be very sustainable indeed. I'm firmly convinced of that. Thank you.
Well, it is good to see that sometimes the world in Germany is a bit different. That's a fact. In terms of smart cities and the digitized cities, we've got major problems. That's normal. We cannot do everything overnight and find a solution to just everything. But Thomas, what would you say? How could the activities in Germany, based on your knowledge, how could they be put into the European context, into the context of European initiatives and global initiatives? We are lagging behind in terms of BIM. How about smart cities? Are we pioneers here in Germany, or are we lagging behind as well? Well, for Hamburg, I can say that in Germany, we are pioneers in Germany. But we also need to be clear about the following. If we look at Asia and smart city projects in Asia, well, this is a completely different dimension, because the metropolis of Hamburg is a different metropolis than an Asian metropolis. Artificial cities are being built entirely based on smart city concepts. And not all of these concepts have prevailed and are tried and tested. At a European level, I think Hamburg is in a very good position, and we are closely involved. But we are different from other major metropolises, and the approach run in Hamburg is also different. We have got traditional structures. We've always been an international city because of the shipping industry. So we've also considered the concerns and wishes of others, and we want to continue this way. Even though we are not the biggest city in Europe or worldwide, I think we've found quite a good and viable approach for our urban development here. And we've found quite good solutions, and together with all other players here in Hamburg, we will continue on this path. We're on the right track, but in international comparison, we have to say that we're not the best pioneers, but we can contribute with certain approaches and solutions. Also in terms of well, forming our opinions, making suggestions, and our administration has also found new approaches, and they're quite successful in implementing our concepts, and we are very much supported by our Senate. The Senate is much in favor of smart cities. We just finalized a major project called Finding Places with smart approaches to deal with the challenges in connection with the refugees coming to Hamburg. And we've used smart approaches together with the Massachusetts Institute in Boston. We founded a Science City Lab here in Hamburg. It's a think tank, and we found new approaches to use smart data to deal with the problems the city has together with the populations. We've organized a number of workshops and technical models, and I think the initial prototypes and approaches have shown that we can be quite successful, and this is a big benefit for the inhabitants of Hamburg and all the stakeholders and players here in Hamburg. We are on the right track.
Vielen Dank.
Thank you very much.
So im Vergleich entnehme ich ein kleines bisschen.
Well,
Wir müssen, wenn wir Positionen entwickeln wollen,
so if we want to develop new positions, we have to look east. Dr. Dold said that the map is being newly created because there is so much change. And Mr. Eichhorn said, well, things start to get smart in the east, so you might want to take another look eastwards. Mr. Kutterer, we're behind schedule because of the live streaming. We've only got a certain amount of time. Well, the INTERGEO is in full swing. We're not yet done, but how about Berlin? Could you take a look into the future? What are the new options? What are the new trends? What do you think, Professor Kutterer? Well, the central topics being dealt with in Hamburg will be also the relevant topics in the next few years to come. So the next INTERGEO will take place in Berlin, but nevertheless, digitization will keep us busy over the next 5 to 10 years. In Berlin, we are close to the political level, to the government, federal government level, and so there are other developments that we need to consider. E-government, and this is also part of digitization. You need to think out of the box and not only focus on technological aspects. So our focus, in addition to what we've got in Hamburg, will also be on e-government in Berlin. We will continue to work in this direction, and we will see to it that we will be able to offer a lot of interesting topics for you. Thank you. Christoph.
Ja, und ihr?
How about
Ihr seid
you?
schon mitten in Berlin.
Ja, das ist in der Tat natürlich nicht
Already,
so, wie es
you
manchmal
already
nach
look
außen hin
forward to
aussieht, dass
Berlin.
wir so
Yes,
von einem
indeed.
Jahr aufs andere arbeiten. Tatsächlich ist es
So,
so, dass die
as a matter
Planung
of
für
fact,
Berlin gemäß der
planning
gemeinsamen
for Berlin
Zielsetzungen schon auf dem Weg sind.
has already been started. In Hall A1, the rebooking takes place, and space is more limited in Berlin. But we know the topics we want to deal with. We've received a lot of positive feedback, but the INTERGEO is not only limited to the 3 days of the trade fair. We are also present afterwards and are ready to discuss things with you, to communicate with you. And I believe that in Berlin there will be a lot of additional interesting topics coming up that we can discuss live. So much for the outlook into the future. Well, this round of discussions really motivated me. Maybe we need another panel discussion because we've heard so many interesting opinions from representatives, the industry, of associations. How about you, ladies and gentlemen of the press? Do you have any questions for the gentlemen on the panel? We've got another 5 minutes before closing the press conference. Gibt es irgendwelche Fragen?
No problems, no remarks. I don't believe it. You are digitizing the world. Thank you very much. Meine Herren, ganz herzlichen Dank.
Ganz herzlich. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So, in the press club, you will have the opportunity to network a bit more and to discuss things before we get back to our stressful everyday business. Thanks a lot.